I'm here back at Broadsands for the first time since April because dogs aren't allowed on this beach. Actually, it's till the 30th September, so we're now on Thursday the 2nd of October, so we're free to come back to the beach, so it's really beautiful. And we're kind of at the halfway point of the moon. The full moon's next week when the tides get really big. But at this point, where in between the waxing and the waning, at this midpoint where the energy's moving very fast, the tides don't actually vary much between high and low tide. It's actually quite a good time to come to the beach because you can come any time of day pretty much and there'll be beach to play with. Anyhow, enough of me waffling on about tides. I've come on to film a video about my latest appearance at Worcester Crown Court, which was last Friday. I haven't made a video till now because, to be honest, I was so exhausted and I felt really ill coming back from Worcester. I spend most of my time in nature, so going back into that Masonic cube of command control was not pleasant. And as I drove home, it was like at least 8-hour round trip because I left early, like 4 a.m. in the morning to get there for 10. It was a long trip and I got home feeling really fluey and shaky and just had to sleep most of the weekend and just boost my immune system. So I'm going to talk about my experience at Worcester Crown Court, but I want to speak to it in the context of digital ID, which came in. I think they passed a bill on the last Thursday, so the day before I was in court. I think that was on the 25th and I was in court on the 26th. But I wanted to tie the two together because it feels really important, this point of law. Now, I wasn't just trying to get out of a kind of speeding allegation. I was actually questioning the legislation. So the first thing I was questioning was the jurisdiction of West Mercia Police over me. I also did not consent to the jurisdiction of the Magistrates' Court, and I demanded my right to a trial by jury. I think it was my 7th visit to Worcester because I refused to consent to the magistrates. I started in the magistrates. I refused to consent, I refused to comply, I refused to sit down, stand up, do what they told me, and I just kept repeating, I require a trial by jury. I'm innocent until proven. I am innocent unless proven guilty. Let's correct that. I'm innocent unless proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. I require a trial by jury, as is my common law right. Now, the thing about the Road Traffic Act, and I forget what year it is, but I'll put it in the title below. The Road Traffic Act is, to my mind, an unlawful piece of legislation. And, well, actually, we know that all legislation is technically unlawful. We have to consent to it. But the Road Traffic Act is particularly unlawful in two respects. Number one, the government has legislated away our right to a trial by jury because the legislation says these offences can only be tried in a magistrate's court. So right there, that is an unlawful violation of our common law rights, which is under the Magna Carta we have a right to a trial by jury to be tried by our fellow man and woman. And the reason why a trial by jury is important is because a jury has the power to disregard any legislation in coming to its verdict. I think it was Thomas Jefferson who said that a trial by jury is the only device known to man which keeps the power of the government in check. The second thing that I was questioning in terms of the legislation, I was saying that it was unlawful because the government has legislated away our right to remain silent. Because they send you a form, I think it's an N160, a notice of intended prosecution, and they say you must fill in the form and it's a criminal offence not to fill in the form, and if you don't fill in the form then it's 6 points on your licence and up to £1,000 fine. I think that's what the legislation says. But this is one of the things I was contesting. We have the right to remain silent, and therefore if we are punished for remaining silent, the legislation is unlawful. Now this becomes very important because of course we are now being faced with this spectre of digital ID. And the government just bulldozing this through because they've got a majority. It wasn't in their prospectus, as far as I'm aware. Keir Starmer and Labour Party got in on less than 20% of the voting age people in the UK. He doesn't really have a mandate, and I suspect that most of that 20% who were kind of duped into voting for him simply because they were so fed up with the Con Party. And also, of course, Reform was thrown into the mix, a very hurriedly thrown together party dredging up the remnants of UKIP under the leadership of Nigel Farage, who my belief is that he was completely bought off. He's completely in the pocket of big corporate interests. And Reform was created to split the vote. So, for example, in constituencies like Derbyshire Dales, where I stood as an independent, they parachuted in a Reform candidate, Edward Oakenfull, who they subsequently threw out of the party, but it was too late and he had to stand. He got 7,000 votes. I only got 369, but the incumbent Con Party MP, Sarah Dines, she lost by something like 351 votes. So my votes would have been very handy to her, but it was actually the Reform Party votes that dislodged the Con Party from Derbyshire Dales. Now that had been a safe Tory seat since, I think, the 1920s was the last time that Labour won it. So Starmer has got a wafer thin. He doesn't really have the mandate of the people. Let's put it like that. And since the election, everyone has lost whatever faith or hope they had in Keir Starmer. He's just, same shit, different rapper, basically. Same World Economic Forum aligned shit, different rapper. So here he is with this landslide majority, thanks to our wonderful democratic political electoral system, first past the post, which delivers this aberration where you can have a landslide on less than 20% of the adult population of a country. Just to add to that, when I was standing as an independent and going out and doing vox pops of the people, most people I spoke to said, I'm not interested in politics, I'm not going to bother to vote. So they kind of left an open goal for those who could be bothered to allow Labour to win. Anyhow, the reason I want to tie this into what happened to me at Worcester Crown Court is because if you look at the history of the driving licence, you can kind of see the trajectory that digital IDs will go in over time. Because driving licences were first introduced, I think it was in 1904, when the first motor vehicles started appearing on the roads. The only thing that a driving licence was needed for was to actually just own a vehicle, and the only stipulation was that the vehicle had to have a unique number, a registration plate on it with a unique number that could be visible so that the vehicle could be attached to the identity of its owner, basically. That was it. That was it. Well, seems like a good idea, doesn't it? Yeah, that seems logical. You know, these newfangled contraptions on our streets, mixing alongside horse and carts, causing all sorts of mayhem. There was a lot of fear, I'm sure, around these new cars and how dangerous they might be. And so the people willingly accepted, yeah, driving licence, good idea. And so, of course, they were introduced and then they crept. Over time, it started to become, and I forget the year, but you can look it up online. Eventually, they became attached to the person who was driving, not to the vehicle. And in the beginning, you didn't even have to take a test to get a licence, you just applied for one. But then later on, you had to pass a driving test to get a licence. And then later on, they started to add in these stipulations. First, I think it was about drink driving. It was very much later on that they introduced the concept of speeding fines. The big change came in the early 1970s with computerization, and there were 20 million drivers at the time, and when they were able to computerize, with the first computer systems to actually track them, that's when they had the ability to start introducing all of these systems around points attached to your licence and driving offences. So the whole thing was a creeping agenda of command and control, because in truth, we the people own the public highways, and no one has the right to tell us whether we can or can't use the public highways. We own the public highways. No one has the right. No police force, no government, no local council. They are owned by we the people. We the people have the right. But of course, this creeping driving licence has created all sorts of challenges, and of course it's tied into big corporate, because you've got to have insurance to drive a car according to the rules and the regulations. If you then get points on your licence, then your insurance premiums go up massively. So when I first was in my absence, tried after I'd been threatened with contempt of court and told to leave, and I was then tried in my absence and I was given 6 points on my licence, even though I appealed that, and last Friday was an appeal hearing, I did notify my insurance company because I wanted to be certain I was fully covered, no loopholes. And my insurance premium went up for something like £350, and I've been driving since I was 17. I'm 60 years old now. I've never had an accident. I've got decades of no claims bonus. My premium went up to £1,100, and this was simply for not filling in a form. You know, I'm not a dangerous driver. Nothing had changed in terms of my risk factor and in terms of insurance. So the whole thing is a money-making scam. And the other thing added to all of this, just to put this in the mix, I also did a Freedom of Information Request Act, and I asked West Mercia Police to give me 5 years of statistics, number of cameras in operation, number of speeding fines issued, and also the number of speed-related road traffic accidents. And I asked them also to give me evidence that there was a correlation between speed cameras, speed fines, and road safety. And I can tell you from those statistics, there is absolutely no correlation whatsoever between speed cameras, speed fines, road traffic accidents, and road safety. And they couldn't provide any evidence or any data or any research. They just said, go online and research it yourself on the internet. It is a giant scam, and West Mercia Police are making £11 million a year from it, and if you scale that up across all 45 police forces in the UK, that is £500 million per year, which is being levied from we the people for using the roads we own on the basis of this unlawful legislation. So that was what I was in court to challenge. And I also kept repeating, this is why I require a trial by jury. I wish to question the legislation. If I am a criminal, and this was a criminal charge, if I am a criminal, who is the victim? I wish to face my accuser. So they brought some police officer into the dock who was the man holding the speed camera. So I said to him, have I caused you harm, injury or loss? And the judge said, no, you can't ask that question. And then I asked him, have you taken the police oath? He said, no, I'm not a police officer, I'm just an admin person. So he's just an admin person. These aren't even police officers, they're admin people like traffic wardens holding this machine. The whole thing is a complete and utter scam. So anyway, the judge completely ignored everything that I said, completely rode roughshod over me, and then to punish me, I believe it was to punish me, thwacked me with a huge fine. I don't even know how many points I got. I think it was still 6. I think the 6 was still upheld. He thwacked me with a huge fine and then a huge bill for costs, you know, the Crown Prosecution Service. And do you know what? I believe that every single person in that courtroom, despite all their wigs and their gowns, because it was a Crown Court, every single person knew that I was speaking truth to a giant scam. And yet, nonetheless, they bulldozed it through and they upheld my criminal conviction for not filling out a form and for daring to question this completely unlawful legislation. So that is what we are up against, folks. And so in terms of the digital ID, which is being bulldozed through, if that legislation includes, and I haven't read it, if that legislation includes clauses which basically say you have no right to a trial by jury, basically what that means is we have a government that on a tiny wafer-thin majority can bulldoze through unlawful legislation that we have absolutely no ability to question. It's an utter scandal. I will not consent with digital ID. I will not comply. I question everything. I'm sure it's not good for my health, and I'm questioning whether I should appeal this decision and take it further, but I felt so ill after the last outing to Worcester, and it's expensive. I've been given 28 days to pay this, so whether I appeal or not. I'm also too focused on my other work, actually doing A Dragon's Guide to Business, which is so much more fulfilling. Anyhow, just wanted to jump on and give you an update to my latest instalment of the shit show that I'm experiencing, courtesy of the alleged justice system, which is completely in cahoots with the police and the government. As far as I can see, there's no separation of power. So if you have any observations, I'd love you to put them in the comments below. Tell us your stories of dealing with the system, of dealing with the justice system, of standing in your rights to require a trial by jury, and whether you've managed to get one. I know certain people who have, but it is very important for us to put a bit of a spanner in the works, because this is a bulldozer which is coming through. This whole digital ID thing, it's completely World Economic Forum masterminded. We know that Keir Starmer is a stooge, like Rishi Sunak was before him. It's big business, it's huge business, this digital totalitarian technocracy, this command control system. We have to resist it with all our might. We have to throw a spanner in the works. It's interesting, I noticed the petition, someone's done a petition, like say no to digital ID cards. I mean, I don't really believe in the power of petitions. I lost faith in them after Brexit, when 17 million people signed a petition saying there should be another referendum, because now we knew better facts that weren't available to the electorate when the original vote happened, that there should be another vote in the light of everything that had unfolded and the realisations that we'd been lied to, basically. And of course that petition was completely disregarded. Now, I actually considered creating a petition to call for the resignation of Keir Starmer and a vote of no confidence in the government. But if you look at the rules and the regulations of the petitions, you're not allowed to do a petition to question the government or to call for a vote of no confidence. So unless something happens, we are stuck with this shit government, Keir Starmer, till I think it's 2029 is the next general election. So that is my latest instalment. I'm not going to ask for donations towards my fine this time. Last time I came on and asked for help, that was actually the launch of A Dragon's Guide to Business beta, and a lot of people were kind enough to put £99 in the hat to sign up for that, and it's now in its alpha stage. It's getting rave reviews. We launched on the 22nd of September. The next video only program starts on the new moon on the 21st of October. So if you are interested in supporting me and helping me, maybe jump on board. There's a group program starting in January, which is where I'm on board, and we have a whole group where we go through the whole process together. So you can either just go for the video only string for £99, or you can go to the full group mentoring program in January, which is £250. And if you opt for the October one and you really like it, you can upgrade into the January one and credit your investment in the October one against the January one, if that makes sense. So all assistance is welcome, all advice is welcome, and your opinions are also welcome. Should I just accept this and take it up the arse, or should I won't say fight on, should I continue to stand in my power to question the system and appeal this unlawful judgment? Let me know in the comments. Sending you so much love. Bye for now. From a very beautiful, calm seaside at Broadsands in Devon. Lots of love.